So it's really just a shift in perspective that we put on repeat over and over. So a question to sort of sit with is, how many times a day do I put a perception of financial abundance on repeat? Because typically day to day, whenever we think about money, we have a perception of lack. And it's a perception, it's not truth. But worry around money comes up every single day. Perceptions about lack comes up every single day. So now we are programmed to react to lack, to expect lack, to expect that it's hard, etc. But how many times per day are we putting the perception of abundance, that done state? What does it look like when this aspect of financial abundance is done for me? It's actually already done. So if it's already done, what does it look like? What am I doing? Who am I talking to? What are the things that I'm purchasing? How am I living? Where am I living? What am I doing? Do I like to travel? Like, what am I doing? If we've never given enough time and attention to what that story looks like, well, then the opposite story will always be active because there's no alternative. We've not given our time and attention to creating the story of abundance. Like, what does the story of abundance look and feel like for you? What are you doing day to day? What are you doing, on the weekends? What are you doing during the week? What are you doing? What are you doing with other people? What are you doing philanthropically, if that's one of your, desires? Who are you as the person for whom financial abundance is complete? Mm-hmm. And if that story, if I were to say to you, so there's two aspects, right? I'm going to do a YouTube thing on this too, but there's, you can say, I have a desire for abundance. Mm-hmm. When you say I have a desire for financial abundance, instantly, now desire is a beautiful thing. It's the spark from which we create, right? So desire comes up, beautiful. I have a desire for abundance. However, in the state of desire, you're perceiving it as not here yet, which is not true. It's already here. So instead of saying my desire is this, you can instead, and I talked about this in the video, the first video I did on my healing, you can instead say to yourself, here is the reality that I'm living from. What does that mean? It means when I wake up, that's where I'm living from. It means when I think about money, I'm thinking about it from this place of abundance, right? And it means I know the story. I am so familiar with that story that I can live from it in any given moment. But for most human beings, they haven't you got to sit down and create your story, whether you're writing it out, whether you're repeatedly thinking about it and dreaming about it, and whatever that story is, the details of that story has to be so clear to you that you can live from it in any given moment. You can call it up in any given moment. You can call up the emotions around it in any given moment because you've practiced that story so clearly and so vehemently and so deeply that when a story of lack comes up, you can switch to this new story of abundance. You could call it forth. It's a part of you because you've repeated it so much. So if I were to say to you right now in this moment, tell me the story of abundance you're living from. If you have to think about that at all, it's not clear to you yet. And if it's not clear to you yet, it cannot come into your reality. It's got to be clear. The feelings around it, the emotions around it. What are you doing? What are you buying? What are you adding to your home? What are you adding to your life? Like, what are you doing with all this money that's already here? If that story is not crystal clear, where anyone can say, if I say to you, what's the story you're living from? What's the financially abundant story you're living from? If you can't rattle that off, here's what I'm doing, here's where I'm going, here's who I'm talking to, here's what happened, here's what I did, here's what I did next, here's what I did next, and I wanted, if that's not coming to you naturally, you cannot live from that place. It can't be your reality if you don't even know what it looks, sounds, and feels like. Okay. So we have to give ourselves the space to get clear on that story we're living from, that abundant story that we're living from. And we have to believe it such that whenever we are asked about it, excitement comes up and it feels done. It feels like, oh my God, yes, this is what I'm living from. And that could come up in any given moment. You have the ability to call upon that emotional frequency of that done state in any given moment. But you can't until you are clear on the story. You've got to get clear on the story. You can't call it forth if you don't know what it looks and sounds and feels like. Get all of your five senses in there. What are you smelling? Like, what are the smells that are around you? Who are you talking to? Who are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you sensing? Where are you going? Like all of that. And it doesn't have to be a story that you can tell in the last 15 minutes, but it's so clear to you that you can pull aspects of it within 5 seconds and go, ah, yes, that's what I'm doing. It's so reachable, it's so attainable that you can pull it up in any moment. And like, let's just say your story has many components: who you're living with, the house you're living in, the car you're driving, the places that you're visiting, the people that you're talking to, the food that you're eating. All of those components can be part of your story, right? But in any given moment, when I say, from what state are you living, you can say, that car that I'm driving, done. You're in it. Like you're in it. If I say, from what state are you experiencing financial, tell me the story. From what done state are you thinking right now? You can go, I'm sensing that trip to Europe. And boom, you're in that trip. And you're like, I can see myself walking the streets and the little shops. And oh my God, it feels so good. Like that's a clip. In like 5 to 10 seconds, you can pull that clip and it becomes you. And you're in that frequency of it's gratitude, and you're so glad that you're living it, that it cannot help but materialize because you're accessing it so often. It becomes you so often. It's mostly the feeling. So the little components of it, yes, it'll having the car or having the house or having the lover or having the trip, or these are physical components of it. But what's most important is, how are you feeling about that? Like when you're driving the car, what are you feeling? Right? When you go on that trip, what are you feeling? What are you feeling? What are you feeling? That's your frequency. And when you energize your story with the feeling, when you what's the word I want to use? When you submerge yourself in the feeling done state of who and how you desire to be, that frequency starts to become you. And you're walking into work and you're walking into the same old dead end job, but you're feeling something different because your mind and your energy knows that this is already done. And you can walk into the door of that dreary building and sit in that cube, right? If you have a job or something like that. Yet you're in Europe, you're in the car, you're in the house. You can tap into it so quickly because you've practiced the feeling done state of it. You've practiced the feeling of what that feels like so often that you can take a sip of it at any time. And when you're sipping on it during the day, it cannot help but become your physical reality because it's blossoming in your energetic field and it's magnetically being drawn by the frequency you're choosing to hold. And frequency is really just feeling. How am I feeling about this right now? Right? But your degree of clarity around that done state, it has to be so crystal clear that you can sip on it during the day. It's so clear that when an opposing thought comes up, you're like, nah, look, I'm sipping on this right now, right? I am so clear on my done state. I'm so clear that it's here right now that I can go experience it. In any given moment, I can experience an aspect of that. I can sip on the car that I'm driving. I can sip on the trip to Europe. I can sip on the thing that I bought. I can sip on, I can sip on it in any given moment. Or I can sit for 30 minutes and envelop myself in the full story. But I know that it's done. I know that it's done because every reality exists right now. It's not in the future. It's not waiting for me to get a promotion. It's not waiting for me to win the lottery. It's here now. And if it's here now, then I can choose to feel it now. And I can choose to feel it now repeatedly, 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 repeatedly. Sip on a piece of it, sip on a piece of it, sip on a piece of it. And it becomes this delightful state that you live in. And I will add this. Forget about time. Because the minute you bring time into the equation, because a lot of people will have this frequency going on, either a frequency of the done state or a frequency of peace or a frequency of just feeling like I'm feeling my well-being, right? And then 3 months will go by and they're like, well, I've been feeling this for 3 months and nothing has happened. Well, nothing may have happened in your physical reality, but honey, there's stuff that's going on that you cannot see. Stay there. Stay there. People exit at 3 months. They're like, I've been doing this for 6 months and nothing happened, so maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I should try another strategy. Maybe just stay in the frequency. It's so simple. All you have to do is align with the story, stay there indefinitely, and allow it in. Because the minute you're counting time, I've been doing this for 3 months. I've been doing this for 6 months. There's so many Joe Dispenza stories where people have been, because he does it through meditation, right? That's his avenue of helping people to experience their reality. There's so many people in his testimonials will say, I did it for 6 months and nothing happened. And then like at month 10, all of a sudden, avalanches of things started happening in my life experience. Now, somebody would argue, well, why does it have to take time? It shouldn't have to take time if it's already here. Well, the reason it's taking time, well, there's more than one reason. There could be many different reasons. One of the reasons that it takes time is because we're vacillating. It's like we're thinking about lack, we're thinking about abundance. Think about lack, thinking abundance. If you're thinking about lack and thinking about abundance and it's like half and half during the day, then you stay exactly where you are. But when the frequency of thinking about your abundance financially, whatever abundance you're thinking about, starts to get bigger and bigger, then now it's overtaking the lack, and all of a sudden you're like, this is what I feel like most of the time. And then it starts to materialize, because that's what you feel like most of the time. We're never perfect at it, but that's what I feel like most of the time, and it begins to materialize. But there's so many people I've talked to who said, yeah, but I did that for like a year and nothing happened. Don't move. Stay there. Stay there. Stay in the frequency. Who cares if it's a year? This lifetime is going to feel like a blip once we're done with it, right? Take time off the table, because if you're truly feeling the frequency of this done state, why would you want to move out of that? It feels good to know that it's done. It feels good to know that I'm not separate from source. It feels good to know that this reality is right here, right now. It doesn't require effort to access. It feels good to know this. Why would you not want to stay there? Why would you not want to stay there? But we bring time into the equation. That messes everything up, because now we're like checking to see if it's done. Okay, I did that meditation for a month. Did anything change? Right? If it's a physical thing in your body, I did that for a year. Did anything change? Right? The minute we start looking to see if anything changed, we're perceiving it as not done yet. Now we're back to the not done state. So if I can offer you anything, take time off the table and just stay there. It feel good to stay there. Oh no, it doesn't, Allison, because that bill still came up. You can pay the bill, you could borrow the money, you could do it. You can take action, but still remain in that frequency, in that knowing that I am affecting my reality whether I see it in this moment or not. I'm affecting my reality because of how I feel about this. Yes, this bill is due now. Yes, my bank account may look kind of minimal right now, but I'm staying in the frequency because the frequency brings me joy. Why would I want to move out of this frequency if this frequency brings me joy? It brings me peace. It brings me peace to know who I am. Now, there's the done state of the physical thing, right? Like, I need a new car and I'm in the done state of the car being in the new car. I want to move out of this house and into a different house, and now I'm in the done state of the house. So there's these physical realities that we can choose to live from, which is perfectly fine. Most of us need to be there first. Then there is this much more expanded place to be, where you're living from the state of knowing who you are. I'm not this physical body. I am one with Source. And I'm offering this just to let you know that that's also here. You can continue to just focus on the done state of the physical things in your reality, right? The financial abundance, all these different things. And there's this other place where you can live from, which is, I'm not any of these stories that's playing out. I'm not this body. I'm not any of these things that I'm giving meaning to. I'm one with Source. I'm feeling that in my frequency as I'm even saying it. I am one with Source. I am not separate from that which hung the planets in orbit. I am one with Source. Therefore, nothing is impossible. I don't even have to think about these physical things. I can just flow in the knowing. I'm covered. I am one with Source. I am infinite. And everything that is desired is here right now. I'm infinite. And that's another way of being that doesn't even require focus on any one physical thing that we desire to have changed in our lives. And when we're able to move from this state, from this frequency, there is a peace that passes all understanding that becomes us. And everything begins to look like child's play from the perspective that I am one with that which hung the planets in orbit. Are you freaking kidding me? A car? A house? Money? That's like child's play. When I consider the truth of who I am, I am infinite. And this physical body that I'm in is just a puny aspect of my infinite self, my infinite being. So of course, from the awareness that I am an infinite being, all that is required in support of my well-being here in this temporary existence here on earth, of course, that's all available to me. Of course it is. And you can live from the frequency of knowing that you're infinite. And so all of these things that you were reaching for, these physical things, feel laughable that they were even being reached for, because I'm infinite. I am one with Source. I am not this body. I'm so much more than this body. And you can live from that state of being as well. But most human beings we gravitate to the law of attraction to get stuff, right? In this physical arena. And it's all fine. It's all fine because the getting of stuff helps us prove to ourselves that we're more than just this physical body, more than just this mind. It helps us prove to ourselves just how all powerful we are, just how infinite we are. And for most human beings, that's the avenue we take to coming in to the awareness that we are one with Source. We have to fix all these different problems in our lives first, and then we realize, oh, if I knew who I was, I didn't have to fixate so much on fixing this problem, then this problem, then this problem, then this problem. I can just live from I'm infinite. I'm Source. So none of these problems even existed. None of these perceptions of lack were ever true. From when I look from the lens of my infinite self, my infinite ever abundant self, from when I look from that lens, everything in this physical 3D world looks laughable when I look from that lens. So you can move into that experience as well. So I not only wanted to offer the perspective of living from the done state of physical things, which is fine, but you can also live from the state of knowing who you are, such that everything looks like child's play as well. When you look through the lens of the Source and the infinite being that you are. You're all that. You all of that. And a bag of chips. You all of that. Isn't it beautiful? It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, beloved. It's who you are. It's who you are. Everything that looks like a challenge is child's play through the lens of who you are.